Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me here. My name is Adrienne Bradley of Thriving Childcare, and thank you for joining me for the Daycare Q&A Show. Um, yeah, so let's see. It is May after Mother's Day and after Provider Appreciation Day, and I so hope that you took the time to um, recognize yourself, appreciate yourself. No one else did. I hope that you were appreciated for both Provider Appreciation Day and for Mother's Day. But if no one else told you, you are appreciated. I want to tell you, and I know it's late because this is Wednesday after Mother's Day and almost a full week after Provider Appreciation Day. But that's what those days are for, and you definitely deserve to hear that. So, late or not, belated or not, let me be the one to tell you if no one else did. That's my dog. That's Rooney. Um, the other dog, as I've said on the show before, I usually do this with my housekeeping, but she's quiet. He's not. So if there's any noise, like the post office, the postman, or any noise at all, he's subject to bark. And I'm just telling you because it startles me, just in case it startles you, or you happen to be listening to this in a room full of sleeping kids or kids that you're trying to get to sleep. Um, Fair warning. Okay, so it is Wednesday, May 14th. Like I said, right after Mother's Day, right? I had a nice Mother's Day. We had some pretty nice weather. It was pretty hot here in California on Sunday. It's since gone back to what's normal for the spring, I think. We're even looking at maybe some drizzle today, but it's been a nice week. It's been at least that week. That weekend was really nice. So, anyway, if you are here for the first time, thank you for joining me and welcome. And if you are coming back and watching the show either live with me or on replay, welcome back. I wonder if you could do me a favor and send me some hearts and likes, either here if you're joining me live, or say hi in the comments so I can come back and say hi to you. And if you're catching this on replay on our YouTube channel, um, thank you, first of all. And please consider subscribing. That helps us get the show out to more providers and people that need to hear the advice that we put forth here. And I would love and appreciate it if you would do that. But subscribe for yourself too so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. Okay. So let's see what's going on in the Thriving Childcare universe. Okay, well, first of all, this episode is sponsored by the Rise and Thrive Club. That is our exclusive club for childcare providers. Inside the club, you get access to almost all the resources we have in our shop. So that's templates, that's checklists, that's all kinds of products and early releases. Our book series that we just released over the last month. You get access to all of that, and a lot of that is free for members. So please go over and check out the Rise and Thrive Club. You can do that at thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC. That's thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC. I would love to see you on the inside. I love supporting childcare providers. That's what I've built Thriving Childcare for, and we've been doing that for the last 10 years, and I am still just as excited to support my fellow tribes. So come and join us inside the club. I would love to see you there. You get more access to me too. Okay. Speaking of the Rise and Thrive Club, I already said that. Oh, you can join, by the way, you can join for just $7. There is a 7-day, $7 trial. So you can get in, test it out, download some resources, and decide if you want to stay with us and get the support, the ongoing support that we have inside the club. But yeah, go check it out. Go check it out. All right, I'm looking at my notes, so try not to get lost, even though I did just get lost. Okay, I want to talk about something that is coming up really soon. So if today's the 14th, we're about a week out from starting this. It is called The Usual Suspects. So it is going to be a panel It's going to be an episode here on the show, a monthly episode that is comprised of a panel of people. So not just me. You won't be just hearing my voice. Like for the last 2 years, it's just basically been my voice here on the show and my perspective. Now, I feel so. I'm so excited about having some other people in our industry from various angles in our industry to give their perspective on different topics and different things that affect our industry of childcare and what's going on, what they expect to happen, what they've been experiencing, what they've been hearing, and just network with them. So I'm super excited. So we're going to start taping that in the next week or so. I was looking at the schedule and I'm waiting for a few more things to get into place. But I want to say this, I would love to have you as a childcare provider, or if you're some other way attached to this industry, I would love to have you on the show and give you the mic as well. We will have guests come on to the show. We're going to have a rotating panel, so it won't even be the same panelists every time. And like I said, this is one a monthly installation, so it'll be one time a month so far. If it takes off, maybe we'll do more. But when we start, it will be a rotating panel of 5 to 6 people in our industry. I will be the moderator, so it's kind of like meet the press style, you know. And I get to be the moderator. I'm sure I'll have some things to add to the conversation as well, but I'm looking forward to kind of just moderating and bringing out other perspectives from some of the people that I respect in our industry, and I know you will as well. So, if you are interested in possibly being a guest on the show, a guest panelist, then please click the link in the comments below. And there's a short little survey. It literally will take you like a minute and a half, and just ask you a couple of questions about being on the show. You know, whether you have, you know, a mic, a computer, that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, so go check it out. I would love to have you on the show. I'm looking so forward to this, and from the response I got from um, some of the prospective panelists, they are as well. So I think it's going to bring a different dynamic to the show here. So I'm really excited about it. So click the link and go over and check it out. Love to have you there as well. Okay, but even if you don't want to be on the show, look out for that because it's coming. Believe you me, I will be talking about it when it starts, when we start releasing those episodes. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Okay, all right. So I think that is the news. Before I jump into the questions, I do want to go to the provider, planner, and organizer. That is our Stripe version behind me. By the way, if you don't have your planner yet, and I know it's May, you might be thinking, well, what's the point? I mean, we're already in May. Why would I want to get a planner now? So many of us associate getting a planner and starting using a planner at the beginning of the year, like with our resolutions and so forth. You can get the provider planner and organizer is undated. So you can get it any time of the year and still get a full year's use out of it. So if you are looking to do some spring cleaning and that involves you getting organized and start planning for the summer months and all of that, getting organized in childcare is nothing but a good thing. So if you don't have a planner, that can help you definitely with that process. So I encourage you to go over and check out the planner. You can check that out at thrivingchildcare.com/provider planner and check out the many things and many ways that it can help you get and stay organized in your business and with your personal life as well. I use it for both. But I'm going to go to the planner now because we have some fun observances. The provider planner and organizer is different in this way. It has a lot of, I put a lot of national observances in this planner that are fun, just fun, and they are actually real. I know I've said on the show just about all the time that my daughter has accused me of these not being real national days, but they actually are. You can Google them. You can fact check me on that. They are actual national days, and we just don't know about them because they seem really obscure. But they could be so much fun in the childcare setting because you can use it to inspire a project, inspire an activity, or even a meal. So that's why I have them there because a lot of these things are they're so much fun. It would be a shame to let the day get away, the national day to get away without celebrating it in some kind of way. Now, with that being said, I looked and I happen to know that May 14th, which is today, is National Dance Like a Chicken Day. And that is one of my favorite ones in the planner because it just sounds like so much fun. Oh my gosh. And you don't need any prep for this. You really don't. You can tell the kids it's National Dance Like a Chicken Day and say, we're going to have a dance off. We're going to have a dance like a chicken dance off. That sounds like so much fun. You could also take some feathers. Maybe you still have some feathers from Thanksgiving projects or other projects where you have feathers, and make a feather a tail feather that they can use when they're dancing like a chicken. I mean, this just has so many possibilities. That's what I love about the planner is because there's a lot of days like this that can just be pure fun. And they're different than the normal things that we do. You know what I mean? They bring a different just a different level of fun. So let me know in the comments if you might be celebrating Dance Like a Chicken Day and tell me how you're doing it. I would love to know. I would love to know. But I'm going to look forward till next week because I think there's a couple more days of next week before next Wednesday on the show. Okay, so tomorrow is actually Dinosaur Day. So where else can you find dinosaurs but at a child care, right? Well, I guess in the kids' homes and stuff too. But with Dinosaur Day, how about pull out the dinosaurs, have them on the table when the kids arrive? Maybe talk about the different types of dinosaurs. I had dinosaur books that talked about the different types of dinosaurs, and there were like not just the ones we saw in Jurassic Park. There were tons of different kinds of dinosaurs, and you can talk to the kids about them and make it a learning exercise. Maybe ask them to draw a picture of a dinosaur, or maybe they could act like a dinosaur. How does a dinosaur walk? You could also make dinosaur footprints. So there's lots of different ways to celebrate that. That is tomorrow, May 15th. Okay. Um, let's see. The next day, the 16th, which will be, what was that? Would be Friday, I guess. Yeah, the 16th is Friday. That is National Love a Tree Day. And let's see. The third Sunday, I don't know if this is the third Sunday, is it? Yes, it is. Okay, so the 18th, this coming Sunday, is National Take Your Parents to the Playground Day. So why not share that with your parents? If you do a weekly newsletter or send out a text blast or an email blast and let them know that Sunday is National Take Your Parents to the Playground Day, and share that with them, and they can come back and tell you if they did that on Sunday and how much fun they had with their kids. So I hope that you do run with some of those observances. They'll sound like so much fun, and you can do a lot with them in your daycare setting. So let me know in the comments. Come back and let me know if you plan on doing some of that. I'm gonna get some of my coffee before it gets cold. Okay. All right. Now, before we get into the questions, and we have some really good ones. Some of these I have not addressed here on the show before, so I'm really excited about it. But that's Lola, by the way. That's my other dog. She's super quiet. She's older, so she's super quiet. Um, so she won't bother us. But anyway, before we get into the questions today, and I do have my computer over here open so that I can see who's joining me and if anybody has any comments or questions. Oh, by the way, if you have any comments or questions before I get into the questions today, please go ahead and leave them here in the comments. And if I don't get to them while the show is on, then I will come back and address them. Or you can go to thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question. That's thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question, and I'll make sure to get it on the show next week. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna scroll up and make sure I can. Yep. There we go. All right. Okay. Before I get into the questions, though, I always give this disclaimer. All right. So listen. The advice that I give here on the show, or basically the advice that I give here on the show based on these questions, are from my experience. I owned and ran my own childcare for over 20 years here in California. And so they're taken from my perspective from owning and running my own childcare, but also coaching other hundreds of other women and men in the field, or from my network of childcare provider friends and experiences that they've gone through. So that's what I draw on whenever I give advice here or give my perspective on something here. But I know that not everything is for everyone. So if you hear something here that works for you and vibes with you and you want to adopt it, that's what the show's for. Get it and run with it. But if you hear something that doesn't vibe with you, that is absolutely not something you want to do, I'm not telling you this is what you have to do. You have your own business and you know what's best for your business. So take what works and leave the rest. It's probably for someone else, okay? This is never meant to tell you what to do. This is taken from the experience, maybe best practices over the industry, depending on what the issue is. But it is always your decision on how you want to apply the advice and the things that you hear here. So, with that being said, I also want to say that any of the advice here, I'm not an attorney. I am not, I am a business coach, but I am not an attorney. And so this show is meant to be for information and entertainment. Okay? All right. With that being said, let's jump into some of these questions because I am excited about some of the newer things that people are asking me about. Okay. It says, the first question says, Adrienne, how do I transition kids back into a routine after a long weekend or holiday break? This is such a great question because, of course, we have Memorial Day, right? I always get those two holidays mixed up, but I believe it's Memorial Day at the end of May. So we've got, what is that holiday? We've got about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks before that holiday. And by the way, if you haven't sent out, if you plan to be closed and you haven't reminded your clients, this is a great time to do that. I talked about that last week, but great time to remind them that your childcare is closed. If you're close. Okay. But what usually happens is with that being a long weekend, and I love a long weekend because not only do you get a long weekend, but you get a short week right after. So I used to live for those days, those weeks rather. But you're right. The kids can come back and they were almost in vacation mode for the weekend or the extended weekend, and it can be hard on that Tuesday when they come back, right? So I guess the first thing I would say is with my clients, I would kind of suggest that as best as they could, they keep the kids' routines, right? So if they nap at a certain time, not just at the daycare, but or at the childcare, but even during their regular, even in their own home, whatever routine they had as far as naps and so, trying to keep to that. And I know it's hard if they're going away or they're not going to be at home for the holiday and they're doing some other things, and kids get tired like right around midday, and that's usually when everything starts to jump off, right? But try to try to encourage them to keep those same routines, and you can maybe put something in your newsletter, or maybe if you put something by the sign-in sheet that talks about the holiday, maybe say, something about try to keep to the routines, just so the child doesn't have a hard time when they come back. All right. I always would put it in the perspective of the child, because that's what happens. It's hard on us too, no lie. But it's really the child that has to get acclimated all over again to the routine here at the child care. So try and talk to your parents before the holiday, so that hopefully you can mitigate some of that, and when they come back they're not completely off their schedule. But then again too, um, kind of anticipate that there will be a little bit of that. There will be a little bit of that. Now, as far as that Tuesday, let's say, okay, the holidays passed and you're back, the kids are back and it's Tuesday. Um, Keep to that routine and show the kids that yeah, that we were gone for a holiday, but now we're back, and this is our routine here, and just get them right back on track as soon as possible. I mean, some of these things you can only do so much, right? Because they're with their parents over the holiday, and things can get out of whack depending on the different activities that they do and whatnot. But I always found that reminding the parents that these are little people, they are just as affected by routines as we would be, and if we get off our routines and get off our sleep schedules and all of that, what it can do to us, same type of effect when it comes to the child. Sometimes I think parents kind of forget that these are just little human beings, and they're going to react in the ways that we would as well. So maybe just reminding them to try as best as they could to keep to the normal schedule that the child has. It'll make it easier on the child when they come back. Okay, so that's all I got. If you guys have a better solution, or you know of a special trick that might help in that situation, please leave it in the comments. I'm not the only provider in the room. Please leave it in the comments, and help us out, because I know that can be rough. It can be really rough. All right, I'm gonna scroll down, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. All right. Next question. Adrienne, what's the best way to politely turn away a family that doesn't seem like a good fit? Oh, that can be hard. That can be really hard. First of all, kudos for you for recognizing that it's probably not a good fit. And you know what? I took some heat a couple of years ago about an article I wrote on the blog. You can go over and read the blog over on thrivingchildcare.com. And if I could remember the article, I'll come back and I'll drop the link below. But it was something that centered around a family not being a good fit, and the comment was that we need to do everything we can to help this family, and that it should never be not a good fit, and that's just not realistic. It really just isn't. And I say that not just because there could be some kind of personality conflicts, although that definitely can be an issue. It could be anything that would make this not a good fit. Your child care not a good fit for the family not a good fit for your child care. It goes both ways. It could be as simple as the days and times that they need care. If it doesn't work with the schedule that you have, that's not a good fit. And I've done workshops with providers to help them identify their ideal client, and there's a reason for that. It's not just in our industry, in just about any industry. The the standard is to understand who your ideal client is so that you can find them and help them as much as possible. But if you don't know who that is, then you could be trying to fit what is it, a round peg in a square hole, or a square peg in a round hole. I never know how that's supposed to go, but you know what I mean. It's you're trying to force a fit when. Ooh, sorry about that. We're getting an alert, and I don't know if I can turn it off. I guess there's a missing person. Sorry about that. That was really loud. Yeah, you're trying to force a fit when it could be that. I'll just tell you. There were times when I could tell from the beginning that this was not the best fit. Maybe it was a personality thing. Maybe it was a parent who very obviously did not feel like they needed to adhere to any of the rules or policies that I had at the child care. And when that happens, the best thing to do is, like this provider, is to pay attention, because I have found that when they're not a good fit from the beginning, they very rarely become a good fit. And it can bring you more anxiety and issues than if you just recognized it from the beginning, if you were just paying attention. And I get it. I was right there with you. I know the whole deal about needing clients. I get it. What you don't need is the wrong client. I promise you. I promise you. It would be best to throw them back. The whole thing, throw the fish back. They are probably the perfect client for another provider. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with realizing that, because, like I said, it can save you sleepless nights. And I had quite a few of the sleepless nights. It could be a behavioral issue with a child. I remember, and let me get some more coffee before it goes cold. I remember a colleague referring me a client that was not a good fit for her. And so I inquired, why, was it not working out? And the child had serious behavioral issues. And it turns out there was some special needs there as well. And I remember my husband making me understand that there's going to be some things that are out of your scope. And that's what my friend was finding out, is that it was exhausting. It was taking away from the care from the other children in her child care. And ultimately, it was not the best fit for the child. There were other, I want to say, facilities that were a better fit for his needs. And sometimes we feel like that's harsh, that it's harsh to say that a client is not a good fit. Well, I think it's because we're in the caring industry, and we care about everybody. We really do. But if we care about them, then we want to make sure that they get the care that they need. And if, excuse me, that's my stomach. And if that is not with us, then it's not with us. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. As opposed to them not getting the care that they truly need by us forcing it and feeling guilty about turning someone away. So that's my little speech about it. Let me know in the comments if you feel differently. Now, to the question, how to the best and polite way to turn away a family that's not a good fit. In my mind, simply, I've done this myself. I just did not necessarily follow up. And I didn't, in that regard, I didn't invite them to enroll. Okay. And most of the time, that that was fine. Usually, families are visiting several child cares. They're not just coming to one. Sometimes they will. They'll come and they will enroll that day. But most of the time, they're looking at other facilities as well. And so I just would not invite them back. Um, it didn't involve me really doing anything. It just involved me not doing something, which was following up. Now, I did have one incident that stands out to me right now where um, the mother, she she had anxiety over men in general, and even though she was married, she had a trust issue when it came to men. Now, even though um, my husband was not here during the child care hours and had very little contact with the children, um, at the time my son was working with me, and she it wound up in a follow-up conversation, it wound up being that she had been the victim of abuse as a child, and so she did not trust men. And when I talked to her about her own husband, she was taken aback. Of course, she trusted him, but I suggested to her that this was not the right fit for her because my husband does live here. He does come home. He does take a vacation day here and there. But my son was working with me, and so it was not something that I wanted to expose my family to when I could see that this could potentially be an issue from the beginning because there was a lack of trust from, I mean, more than typical lack of trust um, from the beginning. I told you he was going to bark. Rooney? Rooney! It's just the mailman. Okay. Maybe that's over. Anyway, so it just wasn't going to be a good fit for her, and we were able to have a conversation on the phone, and because she got really upset that I didn't want to enroll her, and when I talked to her about that issue, then she came to understand that it was probably not the best fit for her because she was already going to have anxiety. I mean, a deep rooted anxiety over it from the beginning. And so we were able to work that through. But this is what I mean about paying attention to whether it is an ideal client. There was another incident where I blew past all of the red, what is it? All the signs, all the red lights. I blew past it and I enrolled this family. And the mom and I just did not have, we were not on the same wavelength. We weren't. And it was pretty contentious the entire time that they were enrolled. And they were enrolled for a while. It was first her first son, and then the next child. And so it was a long period of time that we had this relationship, but it was not. It just, do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about how many people are on this planet? And how unreasonable is it to think that you would get along with every one of them? I mean, everybody. It's just not reasonable. I'm a very practical person, I guess you can tell. And as much as that might hurt you, or shouldn't hurt you, but maybe not feel great, I get it. But it's a fact. It's a fact. Even the people we love and like, There are days when we don't. And so um, it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that and to say that this is not the right relationship for me. This is not the right fit for me, however you want to look at it. And better to avoid issues before they happen. Ask any provider that's been in a situation with a client and, you know, that they knew from the beginning that there was going to be issues. They knew, and they regretted taking that client. So, but let me know in the comments. I know what I'm saying. Sometimes it's pretty controversial with some people, but recognizing a not so great fit is really, it's responsible. It's one of the most responsible things I think you can do for your business. I do. Um, I do have a tool in the shop that's kind of a questionnaire that a provider can take after they have after a tour, to try to determine if you're not really sure if it's a good fit or not, if you're not sure if the prospective client is a good fit or not. And I will come back and I'll leave a link to that because it is a good tool to have just as a standard, especially if you're just getting started and you're not really sure about what is a good fit for your business. This can really give you some clarity. So I'll come back and I'll leave that link. Let me make a note. I'll leave a link for that that tool in the shop. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next question. I don't want to run out of time. But again, if you have any comments or any suggestions or anything, please leave it in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let this provider know if you have some other advice that you can give to her as well. All right. Next question is, do I need to renew my parent contracts each year or just update them as needed? That is a great question. And like I said, the last three questions we have not had on the show before. So, and I skipped a question. I'm going to have to come back to it. I skipped a question. So, do you need, first of all, let's talk about the fact that you realize you needed a contract and you have a contract. Kudos to you. I know there's providers out there that don't think they need a contract. And I've heard from them. I've heard from some that said that they've been in business for years, they never needed a contract, everything's been cool. And that's great. What, like I said at the top of the show, what works for you works for you. Okay? That's great. That's Gucci. Awesome. Okay? The only thing is when that time comes that it doesn't work and you don't have that contract, that's when the problem comes. Most people are used to signing a contract for services like childcare. If they go to a center, whether it's in a center or it's in a home-based environment, even if they're using, I believe, even if they're using the online babysitting services and so forth, there is a contract. There is a contract. It might be a limited contract, but there is a contract, right? So kudos to you for having the contract. First off, I want to say that first off. As far as needing to renew it and have them sign it every year, that's going to be up to you. I've heard different perspectives on that. There are providers that renew. There's like the contract is dated for a period of time, and so if that's an annual thing, and then come back and they have the client re-sign a new contract every year. I didn't do that in my childcare. However, if there were changes to it, like let's say they wanted to change the days and hours for some reason, then there might be a need for a new contract. Beyond that, if I made some changes, some internal changes to some policies that affected the contract, typically I would have an addendum or an amendment to the contract that I would have the parents sign. So that's how I handled it in my business. Again, how you handle it is going to be what's best for your business. So if you're more comfortable having them sign a new contract every year, then you might want to try that. If you find um, that it's unnecessary after a period of time, maybe you change that up and you just have them sign an extended contract, which is what most of us do, that just lives out the time that they are in your care. And then figure out a way, kind of like I did, to address any new policies, or and it could be something that comes from licensing that you need to have added to the contract and have them um, sign off on, have your parents sign off on. But to have them sign a whole new contract, it seemed like a lot to me to go through. So that's how I handled it. I had an addendum to the contract that said that this was part of the contract now. So if it was something like from licensing, or if it was some internal thing that I made a change to, that's how I handled it. So it became part of the contract and was still valid, if that makes sense. So um, you're going to need to figure that out for yourself. Um, I made that call for my business, but again, I've heard providers say that that's part of what they do. They do have an annual contract that is signed every year. Let me know in the comments if you're a provider who does that, or how do you handle your contracts? Is it just one contract for the period of time that they're in your care, or do you have them re-sign an annual contract? I would love to know. Put it in the comments, please, so we can know, how to manage either of those scenarios. But that's how I handled mine. Okay, let me go back to the question that I skipped over and I missed a minute ago. It says, Adrienne, I'm struggling to find affordable substitutes. What do other providers do when they need a day off? Okay, that is a great question. I've never had the question here on the show before. So first of all, I can so relate. I remember a time when I was trying to find substitutes, and it's kind of difficult. I think there was someone here in California, um, in my county, even in my city, that had an agency for that. I don't know if that still exists or not. You might want to look into that. Maybe there's an agency that has substitutes. Um, I imagine that that might be the case because of all the centers and whatnot, and they might need substitutes. But I think it's a great question. I had difficulty finding a substitute because, of course, I'm not going to need them routinely. I'm only going to need them a handful of times. And for me, it was when my assistant couldn't come, um, for whatever reason, they couldn't come to work, or there was a time when I was called for jury duty. And the judge, she was not moved by the fact that I had a child care and that it was definitely going to impact my business. She didn't care. She literally sat me for that jury. And I was just so fortunate that they released me off the jury. I don't know if it was defense or the prosecution. I don't know. I don't care. I was just ready to go, because it was going to not only affect my business, it was going to cost me money because I was going to be sitting on this jury for God knows how long. So I get it. I get the need for that. So I would do some research and see if where you are, if there's an agency or a service that could maybe help you with that. You might want to reach out to your local CCR to see if they have any resources like that that they can refer you to, any information that they can refer you to. And even your licensing body, it could be that they know of a resource that might be available to you to use. Oh, and the agency, the way I found out about the agency here where I am is I reached out to the union, um, the childcare provider union. So if you're a part of the union, then reach out to them and see if they have information on resources like that. So that's the first thing I do. Second thing I would do is to, I was going to say something else and now I lost it, but depending on why you need the coverage, um, I've talked here on the show about how I did have a network of providers that were in close proximity to my childcare, and we were friendly. We were friendly, and we set up agreements between each other, and it was basically um, you know, what's the word? What's the word? We figured it out when the occurrence happened. Okay, so the provider, one of the providers that I'm friends with, she had a holiday that she observed that I didn't observe. It was a religious holiday, and so she was going to be closed, and her clients needed alternative care for those the I don't know if it was one day or a couple of days or the week or whatever. Um, and there was another incident when she went on vacation, and the same thing. So we had an agreement between us that if I had space, she could offer that to her clients, and she would have them bring their file to me. So I had all the paperwork, should licensing come during that time. And that's how we worked it out. So, same thing, when I had a need for the same type of thing, we kind of bartered between each other. You know what I mean? So, we set up an understanding between our businesses that we would support the other business if we had clients that needed us and we were available. Now, if I was full and I couldn't take her client, then I just couldn't take them. But that was another way that we were able to get coverage when we needed it. So, depending on the reasoning, the timing, and so forth, like that, that might be something that you want to explore. You could reach out, like when I first moved here to this house, um, I had a provider reach out to me and very, very genuinely and generously offer to refer clients that she couldn't um, accommodate, you know, and refer them to me. And she did. And that was wonderful, especially because at the time I didn't have a client base because of the move. So that was very helpful. So reaching out and setting up a network of providers in your area is a really good way to maybe address some of the coverage issues that you might run into over the years. Um, so I would say do that. If you're not in a union and the union is available to you, consider doing that. There's also provider groups that might you might have a provider group in your area, and if you don't, maybe set up a Facebook group for providers in your area, and talk about these things. Um, if you have a need, I guarantee that there's another provider that also has that need. So why not, work together? I know we there's always this 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 feeling or this thought that we're in competition with each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way because, to be honest, at least where I'm at, I couldn't take all of the kids in my city if I wanted to. So for me to think that I'm competing with every childcare in the city is silly. They can't take all the kids and neither can I. So why not work together? And like I said, you don't want those clients that are not for you. You really don't. I promise you. If you have to go through that to see, then I get it. I did, but I came out on the other side understanding that. So, yeah, think about some of those options. And if it takes for you to reach out to a fellow provider in your city and say, hey, here's what's going on with me. I'm also a childcare provider. I would be very candid and just say, hey, is that something you're open to? Or, just network, just network. We're all small business owners and we understand. We understand that we have these challenges and it would be great if we could step up and reciprocate between each other, right? Okay. All right, let me get to the last question. I skipped over that one, so I wanted to go back to that one because that was a good one. Okay, the last question is, how can I gently guide parents who overstay at drop off and throw off our schedule? This is another great question. And I had this happen probably more than once, but I remember this one time in particular. And it wasn't the parent, it was the grandparent. So the grandmother dropped off the child. Now the child had just started in care with me. So I get it. And that's probably why I just kind of just extended myself and I didn't really make a big deal about it. But when they dropped off, it was breakfast time, and the grandmother sat down with the child. And let me just interject here for a second, because a lot of times I think parents think that the child is going to be so upset when they leave that they can't leave, that they need to work up to leaving. Actually, in my experience, the opposite is true. The longer you stay, the more the child thinks you are going to stay. And so now when you leave, now it's a scene. Now it's a whole situation, right? Whereas if you set up the routine of, and I would suggest this to some clients, I would tell them, I said, on the drive over, start talking about daycare. Start asking them, what are you going to do today? We're going to see Miss Adrienne in a few minutes, and what are you going to say to her? And are you going to tell her about what you have for breakfast? Are you going to tell her about what you did with the dog last night? Start talking about what's about to happen, the handover that's about to happen, and start encouraging them that they're going to have a great day. They're going to have a great day. This is the same type of scenario that's going to play out when they go to school, right? You're going to try and encourage them to look forward to seeing their teacher and their friends and having a great day, and playing on the playground, and all this stuff. You can do that same thing when it comes to childcare. And so I would tell them, start talking up what's about to happen. There's also this book. It was called The Kissing Hands, and I'll be honest, I cannot remember the book. I cannot remember the book, but I do remember that it had something to do with um, handing off, handing off. And I had this book. It was like one of those big, what, 36-inch books, right? And you would think I could remember the story, but I can't remember the story. I'll put a link to it. I'll put a link to the Kissing Hand here when I get a chance. And let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Hold on. Hey, Denitra. Denitra Scott's joining us. Hi, Denitra. Um, I was just talking about the Kissing Hand. But anyway, back to the story. So the grandmother, right? She, like I said, it was breakfast when she dropped off. It was not breakfast when she left, and she was sitting there, and actually, like, again, the child had just started, and I kind of just felt like, I wanted grandmother to feel comfortable with where her granddaughter was staying, and with the child care. So I didn't say much, but all of a sudden she realized that in the time that she had been sitting there, multiple parents had come and dropped off and left. And so she realized on her own that she probably should have left a long time ago. But I get it. I get it, especially if you get those parents who aren't that self aware and don't realize that they should have exited. Maybe gently having a conversation with them and let them know, that the way they handle the handoff is something that their child is very aware of. And it shows the trust that they have that they are going to have a great day, and that they're safe if they limit the handoff time. And I might be putting this in the wrong wording and whatnot, and come back in the comments if you can say it better than what I just did. But you know what I mean. It indicates a level of trust. The child is paying attention. Like I said earlier, I think we as adults, maybe not us because we get it, but parents don't give enough credit to the child paying, being aware of things, and they are. they're, like I said, little humans. They're picking up on things just like we would, right? Maybe not as complex of thoughts, but they are picking it up. And if they feel like you are nervous about something, they're going to pick up on that. And so maybe not the first day. I understand. I'm a mom. Um, so when on those first days when I had to drop them off, even with school, I would get emotional. I would be nervous. I get it. And because I get it, I can be empathetic to a parent that is nervous and maybe overstays a little bit too long at drop off. But eventually, eventually, they really do need to get it. And maybe just suggesting to them some of what I said, that the child is picking up on this, and if they feel like they're going to have a great day, then the child will feel like they're going to have a great day. Okay, and I more than just that one time did I suggest to some clients that, hey, on the drive over, you know, just start talking about what they're going to do. Ask them questions, make them, and it probably happens at your childcare too. The kids would come in and they would run in because they're excited to see not just me, but their friends. They're excited to play with the toys. Maybe they're excited about breakfast or something like that. And the whole separation anxiety a lot of times was the parent more than the child. Not to say the kids didn't have separation anxiety, they do. But it can be prolonged by parents staying a little bit too long at drop off. So, suggesting that, I think we have like a little handout, parent handout. I'll come back and leave that. Let me make a note of that too, um, to kind of suggest, to parents how they can handle the drop off, because a lot of times, I talk about here on the show all the time, childcare is a new experience for most parents, and so they don't know what to expect. They've run through the scenarios in their head, and a lot of times it's them um, that really need the support. The child is more resilient than even their parents sometimes, right? So so yeah, that would be my advice. If you guys have some different advice for how to handle a parent that stays a little bit too long at drop off, please leave it in the comments. Let us know what your tips and tricks are for dealing with parents like that. But yeah, that was my experience. That was my experience. Okay, so before I sign off today, I just want to say that if you are enjoying the Daycare Q&A show, then I want to invite you to join us in the Rise and Thrive Club. That is a place where you can get the resources that I've talked about here, the support from other providers, including myself, to make this childcare journey a lot more manageable, a lot more pleasurable, and a lot more fun, to be honest. So please consider joining us. Go over and check us out at thrivingchildcare.com/join RTC. There's also a link in the comments that you can click below and check us out. Okay. So yeah. And before I go, I also want to remind you that we will be starting with the usual suspects soon, and I would love to have you on the show as well and get your perspective. So please click the link and go over and just fill out the questionnaire, and we'll be taping that really soon. So I'd love to get you on the show. Okay, so my name is Adrienne Bradley. I am actually signing off on time this week instead of like last week. But I'm your host for the Daycare Q&A Show, and I cannot wait to continue this journey with you next week. But until then, keep thriving. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on today's episode of the Daycare Q&A Show. I hope it gave you clarity, encouragement, or even that little push you needed today. If you're looking for more support, tools, and real-life resources to help you grow your childcare business, I'd love to invite you to join us inside the Rise and Thrive Club. It's our member-only community just for childcare providers, where you'll get access to a growing library of done-for-you tools, exclusive training, monthly live Q&A calls, and so much more. And the best part, you don't have to do this alone. So whether you're just getting started or you've been in the game for years, there's a place for you inside the club. You can join us right now at thrivingchildcare.com/joinRTC. I can't wait to see you on the inside. And hey, if you like this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share it with another provider who could use some encouragement today. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep thriving. I'll see you on the next episode.